Caden Rourke stumbled through the smoke, coughing as sparks hissed around him. The mining colony lay in ruins, twisted metal and shattered walls glowing under emergency lights. A sharp smell of burning circuits and scorched earth stung his eyes, and every step threatened to twist an ankle in the debris. His body ached in every joint, and his chest burned from dragging himself through the wreckage, but something kept him moving. Survival. Habit. Hope. A sudden high-pitched cry made him freeze. It was not human. Not mechanical. It pierced the chaos like a knife, urgent and small. Caden's stomach twisted. He followed the sound instinctively, ducking under a fallen beam as sparks sprayed overhead. The cry repeated, but this time it called out a single word, his name. Caden. He blinked, thinking exhaustion had made him hallucinate. Machines had no voices, debris had no names, and humans weren't supposed to whisper to you in the middle of a catastrophe. Yet the voice came again, soft and trembling. Caden. He crawled toward the sound, heart hammering. Beneath a collapsed transport pod he saw it. A tiny creature no bigger than a child, with scales that shimmered like wet glass. Its wings were translucent, almost fragile, catching the dim light in pale blues and silvers. The baby dragon, or whatever it was, shivered, smoke curling around its small body. Its eyes were enormous and glowing faintly. And it stared directly at him, recognition in its gaze. Caden froze, the exhaustion in his legs forgotten. 1,000 thoughts collided in his mind, but the most urgent one was simple. It was alive. He could not leave it here. The debris could crush it at any second. The sparks from broken power conduits could ignite its tiny body. Without thinking further, he crawled closer, hands trembling. "Hey, it's okay," he whispered, voice hoarse. He reached out slowly, letting the creature see he meant no harm. The baby dragon flinched at first, then hesitated, almost like it understood. Its cry stopped. Silence. Caden's chest thudded in his ears. A sharp groan echoed from above, the structure shifted. A steel beam cracked under its own weight. Dust and sparks fell like rain. Caden knew he had seconds. With a deep breath, he scooped the tiny creature into his arms. Its small body was warm and surprisingly heavy. Its wings fluttered weakly against his chest. He hugged it tight, moving backward carefully, step by step, away from the unstable wreckage. He didn't even know what it was, dragon, alien, mutation, but he didn't care. Its life depended on him and he would not hesitate. Every muscle burned, but he forced himself forward. Every spark that sizzled past reminded him the colony's destruction would not wait for rest. A sudden hiss made him glance up. One of the nearby power conduits had exploded, sending an arc of electricity across the floor. Caden's heart skipped. He couldn't jump, not with the baby in his arms. He looked around and spotted a fallen metal panel leaning against a wall. Carefully he rolled it across the floor to block the current. Sparks bounced harmlessly off the metal as he crawled past. The baby stirred in his arms, tiny claws gripping his uniform. Its eyes widened, shining with a strange intelligence. "Don't worry, we'll get out," Caden murmured. "Just hang on." The creature's wings fluttered again, almost in response, like it understood his words. A flicker of hope warmed him despite the danger. For a moment, the world felt silent except for the faint hum of the colony's failing systems. Then the voice came again, louder this time, unmistakably his name. Caden. He froze, heart racing. This wasn't random mimicry. The creature knew him. He opened his mouth to speak, to ask how it could, but a sudden roar shook the air. Part of the ceiling above collapsed with a deafening crash, sending dust and sparks into the tiny chamber. The baby screeched, wings beating frantically against him. Instinct took over. Caden dove sideways, rolling under a pile of twisted metal, clutching the creature to his chest. Pain shot through his side as debris scraped against him, but he ignored it. The roar grew closer, echoing through the ruins. Something massive had survived the initial crash, or had been drawn to the chaos. Something dangerous. Caden's mind raced. He could not stop, could not hide forever. He had to move, had to find shelter. The tiny dragon, or whatever it was relying on him. And somehow, in the wreckage, in the chaos, it had called his name. What? Oh. And most importantly, what would happen if they didn't get out alive? He pulled himself up, clutching the creature tight. Sparks flew around him, dust burned his lungs, and the distant roar grew louder, closer. He stumbled toward the faint light of the colony's perimeter, every step a battle against fatigue, fear, and the unknown. But he did not stop. Because whatever this creature was, it had found him for a reason. And Caden knew, without fully understanding, that he could not fail. A shadow passed over him, massive and fast. The roar came again, closer than ever. The baby whimpered, pressing itself against his chest. Caden's jaw set. He ran. Caden didn't stop running. The shadow passed overhead, massive and unnatural, and a low growl rumbled through the wreckage. Sparks from broken machinery showered around him as he ducked under bent metal beams. The baby dragon pressed tightly against his chest, its tiny claws gripping the fabric of his uniform, wings flaring slightly in panic. He had no plan. Only instinct. His eyes scanned the ruin for anything that could give him cover, a path forward, a chance to survive. Debris crunched under his boots and each step felt heavier than the last. Fatigue was gnawing at him, but the roar behind him grew louder, closer. Something was hunting them, and it was fast, intelligent, dangerous. A wall of collapsed machinery blocked the narrow corridor ahead. Caden froze. To go around meant open ground, exposed to whatever was following them. He looked at the baby, whose small head had tilted toward the sound of the approaching predator. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, reflecting intelligence beyond instinct. It wasn't just afraid, it knew. Caden gritted his teeth and surveyed the debris. There, a narrow maintenance tunnel led deeper into the colony. Too small for the massive shadow. He had no choice. Lifting the baby higher to protect it from sharp metal, he ducked into the tunnel. The passage was tight, dark, and littered with broken tools and wires sparking occasionally. Every step was careful, deliberate. One wrong move and they could be trapped, or worse. The roar echoed again, shaking the walls. Something heavy slammed against the entrance of the tunnel. Dust rained down and a gust of hot, foul air hit them. Caden felt the creature's wings flutter nervously against his chest. The baby whimpered, and a low, almost human-sounding murmur escaped its throat. Caden. He swallowed his fear. I've got you. Stay close. He adjusted his grip, careful not to hurt it. The baby's warmth against his chest gave him courage he didn't know he had. For the first time since the crash, he felt a small spark of control. The tunnel twisted downward. Sparks from exposed cables danced across the walls. Caden had to jump over a molten puddle of slag, duck under fallen beams, and dodge exposed power conduits. Each action was precise, each movement critical. One mistake and the baby would die. Or they both would. Then the growl changed. It was no longer behind them. It was ahead. The tunnel forked into a wide chamber, dimly lit by emergency lights. And in the middle of the chamber, something moved. Large, sinewy shapes slithered across the floor, drawn to the heat, the light, and the baby. Caden froze, assessing. He could fight, but he didn't have weapons, only his body, his wits, and the baby in his arms. Quick thinking sparked in his mind. He ducked behind a fallen console, peering over just enough to see the shapes. Tools and broken pipes littered the chamber. If he could topple a stack of metal crates, he might block the creatures long enough to escape. He moved silently, placing the crates like dominoes. Then, with a deep breath, he nudged the first one over. The crash echoed, but it was enough. The shapes recoiled, confused by the sudden obstacle. The baby gave a soft chirp, almost like a laugh. Caden smiled briefly despite the danger. Small victories mattered. Each one meant survival, even if only for a few seconds. He didn't linger. Another tunnel on the far side of the chamber seemed less damaged, less likely to collapse. He sprinted toward it, vaulting over scattered debris. Sparks flew across his face, and he felt his side sting where a twisted beam had scraped him earlier. Pain sharpened his focus. He would not allow exhaustion to slow him. Not now. Not with this small life depending on him. The tunnel narrowed again, forcing him to crouch. The creatures had recovered from the crate distraction, their growls echoing behind him. Their movement was deliberate now, intelligent. They weren't random predators, they were hunting. And he could feel it. Every instinct screamed to run faster, think faster, move smarter. A sudden screech from the baby made him spin. It was pointing its head toward a grated vent in the wall. The vent was tiny, far too small for the massive shadow, but just large enough for a human to squeeze through. Caden's heart jumped. Could it hold his weight? Could he climb it without dropping the baby? The roar behind him grew. No time to hesitate. He set the baby on his shoulder and carefully pushed himself toward the vent. Scrapes and burns stung, but he ignored them. The creatures were close. Sparks flew from the damaged wiring overhead. Every second counted. He crawled through the vent, the metal scraping painfully against his skin, and finally dropped into a lower, hidden maintenance shaft. Silence. Caden exhaled sharply. The baby curled into his chest, wings folding, exhausted but alive. His own breath was ragged. He pressed his cheek against its tiny head, feeling its warmth. They had survived, for now. A small victory. But he knew the danger was far from over. Whatever had attacked the colony, whatever had hunted them through the tunnels, it was still out there, searching. And it was coming. A flicker of light caught his eye from the far end of the shaft. It was faint, almost imperceptible but unmistakable. Something moved ahead, something alive. And the baby's body stiffened, wings quivering against him. It recognized it. Caden's pulse quickened. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know if it was friend or foe. But he did know one thing: they were not safe. Not yet. And the next move, the next second, could change everything. The baby murmured his name again, soft but urgent. Caden. And from the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes blinked at him, unblinking, intelligent, waiting. Caden pressed himself against the cool metal wall of the maintenance shaft, breathing in shallow, ragged gasps. The baby dragon quivered against his chest, its tiny claws digging into the fabric of his uniform. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the dim light from the shaft, but it wasn't fear this time, it was recognition. Something ahead had drawn its attention. Something it knew. The shaft opened into a larger chamber, the faint hum of machinery echoing around them. Sparks flickered across the walls, but it was not destruction that filled the space, it was organized. Panels lined the walls, their surfaces etched with strange, shifting symbols. Alien technology, humming with quiet energy, spread across the room. Caden blinked, momentarily stunned. He had seen wrecked human colonies before, damaged mining stations, malfunctioning droids, but nothing like this. The baby stirred in his arms and let out a soft chirp, then pressed its head to a nearby console. Caden froze. The display flickered to life at its touch, revealing holographic images of creatures that resembled the baby, floating in stasis pods. Their eyes glowed faintly, synchronized pulses traveling across the display. Caden swallowed hard. These weren't just alien animals, they were intelligent. The baby wasn't alone. And somehow, it was connected to all of them. What is this place? He whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The baby chirped again, a soft, melodic sound, and Caden realized it was trying to communicate. Its tiny wings fluttered against his chest, guiding him toward a central platform. The room's lights dimmed, then a holographic figure emerged above the platform, tall, slender, and radiant in appearance. Its features were sharp but elegant, with a translucent quality that made it seem more light than flesh. The baby hissed softly and pressed closer to Caden as if warning him. A voice echoed in the chamber, deep and resonant, yet somehow understandable. The heir has arrived. Caden froze, gripping the baby tighter. The what? The holographic figure's eyes, if they could be called that, seemed to focus on the baby. Chosen. Only the one called by name can awaken the bond. He has come. Caden's heart pounded. He had been called by the baby, yes, but how? What? And what did it mean? He tried to step back, but the platform beneath his feet hummed, responding to the presence of the dragon. The baby chirped again, louder this time, wings flaring. Its voice, delicate but clear, whispered a single word: Caden. The realization hit him like a punch. This wasn't random chance. The baby had sought him out. Somehow, somewhere, it knew he existed and it had chosen him. His pulse raced. He was just a medic, tired, broken, exhausted. But in this chamber he was suddenly part of something far larger, far more important than himself. He scanned the room. Panels and consoles hummed quietly, showing information he couldn't read, but one pattern was clear. The baby had siblings, other young dragons or heirs lying in stasis. The holographic figure gestured toward them. The legacy must survive. Only through him. Caden swallowed. His training kicked in. Fear and awe aside, he had to act. He moved closer to a console, fingers brushing over alien controls. He didn't understand them fully, but instinct guided him. He was a medic, trained to observe, assess, and act in crisis. A pulse of energy ran through the baby as his hand touched the console. It chirped in delight. The platform lights shifted, scanning Caden and the baby, recording, assessing. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling as the room shook. Caden's stomach dropped. The shadow he had evaded in the tunnels, the massive predator, was here. Somehow it had followed them. The creatures were hunting. Stay close, he whispered to the baby. He scanned the room quickly and saw a small stasis pod glowing faintly in the corner. If he could stabilize it, it might protect the baby, or even give them an advantage. Without hesitation he ran toward it, dodging a falling beam. Sparks flew, one sizzling along his arm, but he ignored the pain. The baby let out a shrill cry, flapping its wings frantically. Caden reached the pod and pressed a sequence of buttons the baby indicated with tiny nudges. Lights flickered across the surface. The pod hissed, then glowed, stabilizing. The creature inside twitched, then relaxed. Caden exhaled in relief. A small victory, but the danger wasn't over. From the corner of his eye, he saw movement. The predator had entered the chamber. Massive, shadowed, with eyes that gleamed like molten metal. It paused, sniffing the air. Caden's chest tightened. If it attacked now, they wouldn't stand a chance. Then the baby did something extraordinary. It chirped, wings spreading wide, and the predator froze. Its growl faltered, almost as if it recognized the dragon. The baby's voice rang out clearly, delicate yet commanding, calling out to it in a language Caden didn't understand. The massive creature hesitated, lowering its body, almost bowing. Caden's mind raced. The baby wasn't just intelligent, it was powerful. It had some influence over even creatures far larger and stronger than him. He felt awe and fear all at once. The danger wasn't gone, but he realized something vital. With courage, intelligence, and the baby's bond, he might survive. They might even win. The predator backed away slowly, shadows retreating toward the vent from which they had entered. Caden pressed the baby to his chest, heart still racing. He had never felt more alive, or more responsible. A faint hum from the platform caught his attention. A hidden door at the far end of the chamber began to open, revealing a descending passageway bathed in pale light. The baby chirped again, eager, urging him forward. Caden hesitated for only a moment. The weight of the unknown pressed on him, but he lifted his chin and stepped forward, gripping the baby tightly. Whatever lay ahead, he would face it. Together they had survived impossible odds, and now the story was just beginning. But as he descended, a flicker of movement caught his eye in the shadows. A second predator, larger and faster than the first, observing them silently. It didn't move yet. It was waiting. Caden's boots clanged against the metal floor of the descending passageway, each step echoing in the pale light. The baby dragon squirmed slightly in his arms, its wings flaring nervously, but it didn't cry out. Its glowing eyes scanned the shadows ahead, alert, aware. Caden's chest ached from exhaustion, every muscle screaming, but he forced himself onward. He had no choice. Danger was closing in, and hesitation could mean death. The passageway opened into a massive chamber, wider than anything Caden had ever seen. Alien machinery lined the walls, casting faint glows and shifting blues and silvers. In the center, a swirling energy field pulsed, crackling with latent power. And before it, the massive predator from the tunnels crouched, its molten eyes fixed on them. But this time it wasn't alone. From the shadows, a second creature emerged, larger, faster, and far more menacing than the first. Its body gleamed like black steel, sinews rippling under strange, translucent armor. Caden froze for a heartbeat, calculating. There was no way he could outrun both. No way he could fight them head-on. He pressed the baby closer to his chest, feeling its warmth, its tiny heart beating against his own. Then instinct took over. He darted toward a cluster of alien consoles on the far side of the room, hoping to use them as cover. Sparks flew from damaged wires as he dodged low-hanging beams, narrowly avoiding the predator's snapping jaws. The first creature lunged, claws scraping the floor mere inches from him. He dove sideways, rolling over twisted metal, and the baby shrieked in alarm. Caden's mind raced. He had trained for emergencies, for crises, but nothing like this. No human training could fully prepare him for intelligent, massive predators, creatures capable of analyzing, predicting, hunting. He gritted his teeth. He had only one chance: outsmart them. He scanned the room. The swirling energy field in the center pulsed rhythmically. Sparks of energy arced off it, casting shadows across the predators' bodies. A thought struck him. If he could redirect that energy, maybe it could slow them down. Maybe it could give them a chance. With careful steps, he edged closer to the field, keeping the baby pressed against his chest. His hands brushed the console nearest him. Alien symbols flickered under his touch, and instinct guided him. He pressed, toggled, adjusted. The energy field flared briefly, then stabilized. Sparks shot along the floor, forcing the first predator to leap back. It snarled, clearly disoriented. The second predator snarled in response, claws scraping across the floor. Caden's pulse raced. The baby chirped urgently, wings flaring, almost directing him toward a smaller panel nearby. He hesitated only a moment before following its guidance, pressing buttons the dragon indicated with tiny nudges. The field pulsed again, arcs of energy shooting toward the larger predator, slowing its approach. Caden took a deep breath. His plan was risky. If he failed, they would both die. He didn't have time to think. He pressed the baby close, whispering, "Hold on. We'll get through this." The baby chirped back softly, almost reassuringly, as if understanding every word. The predators advanced, eyes locked on them. Caden sprinted toward a raised platform along the chamber wall, using the energy arcs to keep the first creature at bay. The second one, more cunning, circled around, trying to flank him. Sparks hissed around his boots, and the alien floor shook under the predator's weight. Suddenly, the baby did something incredible. It let out a high-pitched musical call. The sound echoed in the chamber, resonating with the energy field. The field flared violently, sending shockwaves across the floor. The second predator skidded, momentarily confused, and the first leaped back, roaring in frustration. Caden's eyes widened. The baby wasn't just intelligent, it could influence the energy, guide him, control elements of the alien tech they had barely begun to understand. He didn't waste a second. Using the chaos, he darted toward a smaller, reinforced hatch in the chamber wall, the baby's chirps guiding him. Sparks flew from the energy field, and Caden dodged with precision, every movement a desperate gamble. The massive predator lunged at him, claws scraping the metal just inches from his shoulder. He dove through the hatch, rolling onto a narrow ledge. The baby pressed against him, wings beating rapidly. Caden steadied his breathing, scanning the next chamber. Another series of alien pods lined the walls, similar to the stasis pods he had seen earlier. Maybe they could use them for protection, maybe even for leverage. He had no time to consider options, only action. From behind, the predator's roar shook the ledge. Caden's heart raced. He could feel its gaze burning into his back. The baby whimpered softly but pressed closer, almost guiding him to a console above the pods. With trembling hands he activated it. Lights hummed across the pods, and one by one, small energy barriers rose, forming a protective shield. The predator hesitated, clawing at the barriers but unable to break through. Caden exhaled sharply. The baby chirped again, this time more insistently, nudging him toward the next passage. He understood. They weren't safe yet, but the baby knew a path forward. He gritted his teeth, bracing for the next challenge. Then, just as they began moving, a low, rumbling growl came from the far end of the chamber. The shadows shifted. More eyes gleamed in the darkness. The baby stiffened, wings flaring wide. Something even larger than the previous predators had entered. Its presence radiated raw power, intelligence, and a lethal intent that made Caden's stomach drop. He pressed the baby tighter to his chest. There was no turning back now. Every instinct screamed to run, hide, fight, but he knew the truth. He had to lead, he had to act, he had to protect the baby no matter what. Caden took a deep breath, jaw set. We moved together. No hesitation. Ready? The baby chirped sharply as if answering. Caden stepped forward into the unknown, heart hammering, knowing that the next seconds would define everything. Life, death, and the fragile bond between a human and a creature that had called his name. The massive shadow shifted again, and a voice, a deep, resonant tone, alien yet commanding, echoed through the chamber. You should not have come here, human. Caden's eyes narrowed. Danger, impossible odds, fear, but also courage, determination, and a spark of hope. He was ready. Caden's boots scraped against the alien metal floor as he faced the new threat. The massive figure before him radiated power unlike anything he had seen. Its limbs sleek, almost liquid in appearance, its eyes glowing with cold, calculating intelligence. Behind him, the baby dragon pressed close to his chest, wings quivering but steady. Caden felt a surge of determination. He had no weapons, no reinforcements, only his mind, his courage, and the fragile creature he had vowed to protect. The alien regarded him silently, as if weighing his worth. Then a deep voice resonated in the chamber. You were chosen, but are you worthy? Caden swallowed, heart pounding. He had no answers, only instincts. I don't know about worthiness, he said, voice firm despite the fear. But I will protect what depends on me. No matter what. The alien tilted its head, studying him. The baby chirped, wings flaring slightly, and something remarkable happened. The giant creature paused. Its gaze shifted from Caden to the baby, then back. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter, pulsing in harmony with the alien energy coursing through the room. Caden realized the truth. This was not just a threat. The baby had influence even over this massive being. Acting quickly, Caden pressed forward toward the control panel along the far wall. Sparks flew, energy arcs leaping from damaged conduits. He ignored the sting on his arms and the sweat burning his eyes. The baby nudged his shoulder, urging him to activate the panel. Fingers trembling, he touched the alien interface. Lights flickered, and suddenly a wave of energy pulsed outward, stabilizing the chamber. The alien hissed, a sharp sound of surprise and frustration, but it did not attack. Caden's mind raced. This was his chance. He held the baby close, leaning over the console, pressing buttons instinctively. The alien stepped forward, massive claws scraping the floor, but the baby chirped loudly, wings spreading wide. Energy rippled through the room in response to the dragon's call, and for the first time Caden felt awe. They were not helpless. They had allies, albeit unexpected ones. The giant alien paused, then slowly stepped back. Its eyes, molten and sharp, never left Caden. The baby chirped again, a soft, melodic tone that seemed to soothe the enormous being. And then it spoke, not in words Caden could understand, but through resonance, through feeling. Fear, respect, acknowledgement. It recognized the bond between the human and the dragon. Caden realized then that their connection was the key. Humanity's courage, compassion, and intelligence, qualities the alien could sense, had earned them a chance. He straightened, holding the baby firmly, meeting the alien's gaze. We won't run. We won't fight unless we must. But we won't let anyone harm those who can't protect themselves. The alien paused longer than seemed possible, then with a flick of its massive limb, withdrew into the shadows. Its eyes lingered for a moment as if studying him for future judgment, then vanished. Caden exhaled shakily, relief and exhaustion washing over him. The chamber was quiet again, save for the faint hum of alien machinery and the soft flutter of the baby's wings. He sank to his knees, cradling the creature. We did it, we survived, he whispered. The baby chirped softly, nuzzling his cheek. Despite everything, the exhaustion, the danger, the unknown, they had made it. But survival was only part of the story. The chamber around them hinted at more, rows of stasis pods, alien technology humming quietly, energy conduits flickering. The baby stirred, chirping again, and this time it nudged him toward the largest pod at the far end. He approached cautiously. Inside was a larger dragon, wings folded, eyes closed, seemingly asleep. The baby let out a small, excited trill. Caden's pulse quickened. He realized the truth. These dragons were not alone. They were a species, a legacy, and somehow humanity had been drawn into their survival. The baby had called him for a reason. Not randomly. Not by accident. He had been chosen, yes, but chosen for what purpose? He pressed a series of buttons on the alien console, following guidance from the baby. The pod hissed open, releasing a gentle mist. The larger dragon stirred, eyes opening slowly. They glowed softly, and it gave a low, resonant sound, acknowledging Caden. The baby chirped excitedly, flapping its tiny wings. Caden understood the bond he now shared with this species was profound, unbreakable, and crucial. Minutes passed in quiet reflection. The chamber was safe for now. Caden's muscles ached, his uniform torn and scorched, but he felt something he hadn't in days: purpose. The baby pressed close again, warmth and trust radiating from its tiny body. Somehow, in the chaos, in the danger, in the moments of terror, he had found a new responsibility. A calling. Then a faint flicker of light appeared near the far wall. Another panel activated, casting pale green illumination across the chamber. Symbols shifted, forming patterns Caden could barely comprehend. The baby chirped, and its voice, delicate but urgent, seemed to carry a warning. Caden looked at the console, pulse quickening. The signals weren't random. Someone, or something, was approaching. More than just predators. More than just challenges. Something greater awaited them beyond this chamber, something that could change everything. He lifted the baby higher, holding it close, and stepped toward the exit leading deeper into the alien complex. Whatever comes next, he whispered, we face it together. The baby chirped in agreement, its tiny wings beating against his chest. For the first time, Caden felt a surge of hope beyond fear. Humans could face the impossible, survive against overwhelming odds, and shine when courage and compassion mattered most. This was their bond. This was their fight. As they moved forward, the faint hum of the alien systems pulsed around them, and shadows shifted in the distance. Something massive, intelligent, and unknown watched from beyond the next corridor. The baby tensed, eyes glowing brighter. Caden gritted his teeth. Whatever lay ahead, he would face it. Not as a broken, exhausted human. Not as a medic who had once stumbled through debris. But as a protector, a hero, and a human capable of shaping the fate of an entire species. The shadows flickered again. And the baby's voice whispered, "Caden, they are coming."